where you come for instant post-game reaction.
Oh, hell yeah.
This is Dubs OT.
Can't wait.
With John Dickinson.
Hey, JD, what you up to, sugar? Long time no talk to.
On KNBR 104.5 and 680. Streaming live at knbr.com and on the KNBR app.
Cole Anthony dropping it off. Warriors take it away. Curry again. Buddy Hield back to Steph. Another three. Got it! This has got that record-setting feel. Magic has scored the last two times. Curry for three. Yes, sir! Curry's got 46. Another clutch game for the Dubs. Curry, three. Good! 11 threes. 49 for the game. Curry to beat the buzzer for three. Good! Steph's got 12 threes. He's got 52.
And he would finish with the 12 three-pointers, one of the great games in the career of Wardell Stephen Curry. 56 points in Orlando, beginning of the 5-game road trip, and the Warriors win it 121-115. The calls there, courtesy of NBC Sports Bay Area, as we welcome you in to Dubs OT here on this Thursday night with JD John Dickinson, here on KNBR, the sports leader. Wow. I mean, really, that's all that you can say at the beginning of this one is just, wow. I mean, Stephen Curry with an all-time performance. I mean, this is a guy who coming up in a couple of weeks is going to have his 37th birthday. In just 2 weeks from tomorrow, Stephen Curry is going to turn 37 years old, and he has looked absolutely out of this freaking world in the time that the Warriors have had Jimmy Butler on the roster, as the Warriors win it to improve to 7-1 now with Jimmy Butler. So much that is impressive from this game about Steph Curry as he goes for 56, 21 in the first half, 22 in the third quarter alone, 6 of 8 from three-point range, 4 of 6 from three-point range, 6 of 8 overall, got to the free throw line 6 times in that quarter as well, a plus 23 in a quarter that the Warriors outscored the Magic 40-21. And then Steph with big three after big three after big three, hit 3 huge ones in the fourth quarter, with the Warriors really kind of stalling out after they had built a comfortable lead. They were up 13 in that quarter, and the Magic kept coming. The Magic were on a heater at the beginning of this game that really led all the way through the first half, and then got hot again late. But Steph with just enough, and the Warriors with just enough key defensive stops down the stretch to win this game 121-115. Warriors now 32-27 on the season, and they are currently 7th, tied with the Minnesota Timberwolves. We've talked about it. The Warriors have the tiebreaker over the Timberwolves. Timberwolves playing the Lakers tonight down in LA. So the Warriors will either move into sole possession of 7th place, or they will dip back to 8th based on what happens with Minnesota, if Minnesota can pick up a win there against the Lakers. 808 KNBR is the number, 415-808-5627. to give us a call or shoot us a text here. We got Kyle Haar back in our San Francisco studios, the great Raf Corral back in our San Francisco studios tonight. Hall of Fame guys at the controls in studio, and just what a performance from the Hall of Famer in Stephen Curry tonight. I mean, it just takes your breath away. It just, the level that he's been on here over the course of the last 3 weeks, and for the Warriors to win this game, here's where I want to start. And again, 808 KNBR, if you want to just put this into some kind of context as it relates to the great games in Stephen Curry's career. I know today began with many on social media celebrating the 9th anniversary. Believe it or not, I can't believe it was 9 years ago today, but it was 9 years ago today on the 27th of February, the near half-court pull-up game-winning three as the Warriors completed their comeback against Kevin Durant and the then Oklahoma City Thunder team on that ABC Saturday Night Showcase game, and Mike Breen with the double bang, and the Warriors forcing the turnover at the end of the game to come back and win it in that insane 73-9 campaign, a sign of things to come in terms of comebacks against the Oklahoma City Thunder. They had quite the comeback in the Western Conference Finals in May, in another big win in a Game 6 in that building at OKC. But the day begins with the celebration of that on the 9th anniversary of the occurrence, and then ends with Stephen Curry just absolutely eviscerating the Orlando Magic in a game where he didn't have a lot of help. He really didn't. The most help Steph Curry got tonight was from Quinton Post. And we'll get to QP, who had some of the biggest buckets. Game high plus 22 for Quinton Post tonight. 18 points. He knocked down a couple of big threes and was a key contributor in the third quarter as the Warriors flipped the game. And the ability here on a night where the Warriors end up now 7-1 in the 8 games since the Jimmy Butler trade. Jimmy Butler didn't have it tonight. Jimmy Butler was bad tonight. Worst game as a Warrior by far. He just didn't have it. The mid-range wasn't going. His three-point shot, yikes. I mean, the all-time line drive of line drives. I mean, he's got no arc on his three. Looks unconfident in taking it. He did take 3 of them tonight, and he just didn't have it. And the Warriors really, in the first half, didn't have anybody that was a secondary scorer. So you look at Steph in the first half, he ends up with 21. And he kept the Warriors from getting blown out. They were down 34-23 at the end of the first quarter. You look at the second quarter, Steph prevented it. They're down 17. He hits a shot from between 2/3 and 3/4 court to make it a 14-point game. And that was the moment tonight. And I'm sure it's different for everybody. But that was the moment. I never really felt like the Warriors were cooked in this game, even though Steph was the only Warrior in the first half that played well. And I think that's another indicator of just the new world that we've spoken about here over the course of these last 3 weeks. It just feels completely different. I'm not going to go as far as to say it necessarily feels like 2022 or 2017-18 or 2015, because all of those teams, to a certain extent, especially the first 3 teams that won championships, were absolutely flat out dominant. I mean, the Durant era Warriors, the 16, 17, 17, 18 teams, I mean, those teams are maybe among the top 10 teams of all time when you look at what they put together. I'm not saying this is that, but one of the traits that great teams have is the ability to steal games when you don't have it and when you aren't playing well. And we've seen the Warriors now have the ability to make one adjustment on a couple of these nights where they're not playing well. And then Steph's got enough energy and edge and belief to where if he gets on a big-time heater, it can completely flip it. And all of a sudden, this team can win a game that, quite frankly, they were probably set up to lose. And I know the Magic were hot. And it was kind of a fake shooting game for them to a certain extent. Although they did end up only making 11 threes. The Warriors ended up making 19, and Steph had more threes than the entire Magic squad for the night. But the Warriors were getting dominated early in the paint. It was kind of a low-energy game. Warriors really getting attacked in this one. They were down 9-0 and 11-3. The Warriors were missing some shots. The Magic played good defense. They were attacking inside. And the Warriors were not hitting shots. 1 of 9 start. Orlando has some size. They have some wing size that can hurt the Warriors. Uncharacteristic of Orlando to be hitting the three-point shot at the level that they did. I mean, they shot 83% in the first quarter, which was the highest opponent shooting percentage in any quarter for any team. Any team, any quarter against the Warriors, the heater the Magic had in the first quarter was the hottest quarter any team's had against the Warriors this year. Number 2, by the way, the fourth quarter at Utah, the night of the Andrew Wiggins trade, for anybody that's scoring at home. The Jazz and that blown game, that was the number one quarter against for the Warriors this year 3 weeks ago in Salt Lake City. But so the Magic were on a heater, insane first quarter, but they dominated the paint early. And Banchero was getting going. 10 of 11 for 20 paint points in the first. The Warriors had to figure out a way to slow that down somewhat. And they really didn't as the game went on, although in the final three quarters, the Magic had 36 points after 20 in the first quarter. So I guess they slowed it down a little bit. But the key was going to be try to stave off a little in the paint and then be able to hope that the Magic don't continue to hit the three at the level that they did. And the Magic did not hit the three at the level that they did. But Warriors down 11 after one. Draymond Green was 0 for 4 at that point. Jimmy Butler 0 for 3. Moses Moody 0 for 3. Buddy Hield wasn't doing much. Warriors were forcing some turnovers, but then they were turning it over themselves. Banchero's dominating. Franz Wagner's doing his thing. But it was Steph Curry. It was Steph Curry in the first half keeping the Warriors close, keeping them from getting blown out, basically. The first half that Steph Curry had prevented them from being down 20 plus. The largest lead was 17 right before halftime. And then Steph hit the 51-foot shot at the half-court buzzer to make it 66-52 at the half. And then in the third quarter, it was takeover time. Steve Kerr gets a major nod tonight. Major nod to Steve Kerr. It wasn't clicking at halftime, and Moses Moody did not have a good first half. The Magic had some size advantage issues, and the Warriors made a halftime switch to try to put Draymond Green on Banchero, and so they moved Quinton Post into the lineup to start the third quarter for Moses Moody. They shift Draymond Green to the 4, and Quinton freaking Post. This is Stephen Curry's night, and the third quarter was Stephen Curry's quarter. But Quinton bleeping Post at the beginning of the third quarter flipped the game. He helped flip the game. It was Curry's quarter. It was Curry's night. It was one of the best games of Stephen Curry's career. And Steph Curry's an all-time great, maybe a top 5 of all-time player. But Quinton Post starts the second half, and Quinton Post had 10 points in 3 minutes. And the Warriors, all of a sudden, from 17 late in the second to within 5, and the Warriors were energized. They were energized. They got the lead at 74-73, a 22-7 run. At that point, you had Quinton Post clapping for the ball like Kevin Durant clapping at Draymond Green for the ball. You got Podziemski bringing the ball up the court. Quinton Post is running to the wing, and Quinton Post is clapping Podziemski like he's KD in his prime late in the game down at Staples against the Clippers. And that's how much confidence Quinton Post has got. Wow. I mean, incredible. And so he hits a couple of threes, couple of twos, 10 quick points for Quinton Post, and then the rest of the quarter was Steph Curry's quarter. After the Warriors got the lead on a couple of free throws, Curry got on a big-time heater, 82-75 on what at that point was Curry's 9th three. 9 of 12 for 36 points. It was a 30-9 run at that point, and it ended up for the Warriors in the third quarter 40-21 in favor of Golden State, and they had the 92-87 lead. Actually had built the lead up to 12, and the Magic had closed the quarter. It was a bad close to the quarter when Curry came out initially after the Warriors had been up there, and then Moses Moody hit a big three into the third quarter. Overall, a plus 19 after trailing by 14, so a great quarter to be up 5, but it felt like the Warriors should have been up more like 8-12 honestly, going to the fourth quarter, they slipped up a little bit in the non-Curry minutes there, but then got it back at the top of the fourth quarter, and the Warriors able to push the lead all the way up to 13. Big time nod, as we mentioned, to Steve Kerr for making the move to Quinton Post. That move, along with Curry's all-timer night, sparked what at one point tonight was a 29-point flip from the Warriors being down 17 to up by as many as 13. I guess it was a 30-point flip at one point, and the Warriors, with enough Steph Curry in that fourth quarter to win it down the stretch. Man, the Magic, when you thought the Warriors were going to coast and they didn't blow the lead, but my goodness, if any one of those three-pointers that Steph made in the fourth quarter end up rimming out, it felt like, oh my God, the Magic might have a chance to steal it. And we've seen the Warriors lose those games. Unfortunately, we've seen them lose too often this season and too often over the course of the last couple of years. But Steph able to bring them home. Couple of key defensive plays, couple of key offensive rebounds for the Warriors. You had Gary Payton II with a block that basically iced it. You had Draymond with a big stop, although he fouled Wagner on a three. But the Warriors able to, again, just get everything they needed from Steph Curry. Banchero hit a three, then Curry answered with a three. Wendell Carter hit a three. Curry missed a three, and Banchero cut it to 2, but then Curry put the Warriors back up by 5. And in some key offensive rebounds, Curry missing a three, Jimmy Butler with a big offensive rebound, then Draymond got a big offensive rebound. Curry ended up getting fouled, and the Warriors had just enough stops, just enough free throws, just enough Steph freaking Curry on a night where he goes for 56 on 16 of 25, 12 of 19 from three-point range, 12 of 12 from the free throw line. And Quinton Post, the number 2 man in this one, with 18, and you add it all up, and the Warriors are 32 and 27. They're 7-1 in the Jimmy Butler era. And I think, I mean, you look at this one, it's just an indicator of this team is still flawed in a lot of ways. Like Aussie rules. Love the Magic fans cheer so much for Steph. Yeah, the Magic fans were into the game. Like, they were into the experience tonight. Like, they were rooting for their team, but they very quickly, I think, understood that they were witnessing an all-time special performance from an all-time great player. And so, I mean, it was kind of a cool vibe, even watching it on television tonight, that the Magic fans seemed so appreciative. And I had the good fortune of being able to kind of click over. I did the sync thing tonight. Sometimes I'll sync up the mix channel. So I get the NBA League Pass mix channel, which typically takes home feeds. And so Orlando was obviously the home team. So I had the mix channel going. You can click around to different games and get the audio for whatever game that's ongoing. It was a pretty light night in terms of overall games. I think there was just 2 games going at that point. The Warrior game and the Mavs Hornets game had tipped off. So I actually caught the Orlando feed with the audio, and then I synced it up on the second screen with the NBC Sports Bay Area feed. And it's a life hack that really saves JD's sanity for the games that he's not traveling to. So I had a real nice opportunity to get I think it's David Steele and Jeff Turner were on the call for the Orlando, and they were just mind blown, honestly. Like, they were just in awe. And, you know, with every shot Curry would hit, it was just like, well, you know, great effort for the Magic, but they've got Steph Curry. So it just didn't matter. I mean, it was just, they just were fully understanding, obviously, as witnesses to this over the last decade plus. Max Lopez, I wonder how many players have gotten an MVP chant on the road. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't happen very often. I would imagine there's a lot of just Florida Warrior fans that made the trek also. I don't know that necessarily that would be a destination game for Warrior fans in the Bay Area. I was talking to Copes and Derek Papa. That's actually one building, and this whole trip, I've been to I want to say probably 20 buildings or so out of the 30 in the NBA, but none of the 5 on this trip have I covered a game at. But yeah, I've heard that the vibe is very good, obviously, in Orlando there. But yeah, just what an incredible performance from Steph. 808 KNBR, if you want to weigh in on Steph's performance. The Warriors now 7-1 with Jimmy Butler, where this ranks among all-time great Steph and Curry performances. And then I've got some notes on Steph since Jimmy Butler joined the team that I want to get into as well. So let's get it tipped off with Trevor in Reno, our tip-off caller tonight here on Dubs OT on the Sports Leader. Hey, Trevor.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing well tonight, my man. What a game. Wasn't perfect, but wow. I mean, Steph Curry, you just never know when he's going to have an all-time performance, and tonight was one of those nights.
And to me, it's so inspiring. Not just the game, but in life. Let's just think about this day. He ended the half, like you said, 9 years ago, with a bang, right? Just another iconic 2/3 quarter shot, or 2/3 quarter court shot. He just never gave up. Despite everything that was going on and things not going right, he never gave up. And that is just incredible. I will tell you, Steve Kerr, I think KNBR posted that 3/4 shot, and Steve Kerr got a lot of criticism for the first half with the small lineup. But like you said, give him credit. He made adjustments. He didn't panic. And I will say, Post is a huge addition to the Warriors. Yes, Butler is great, but I've been going to say this. I know we've got a lot of callers. What do you think with Post? Do you like the continued development? I think he's going to be one heck of a potential player. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the Warriors have not had a true 7-footer that has the ability to do the things that he does. So I think as a role player immediately, I mean, if he can step on an NBA court and shoot over 40% from 3-point range and not be a pushover in terms of just completely being soft, and he's not a soft player at all. I mean, he really likes physicality. He's not a great defender, especially when he gets pulled out outside and has to get switched on to somebody that's got some skills to be able to attack and go to the basket. But he's also not afraid to mix it up a little bit. He's a good screener. He's a intelligent, smart player in terms of moving the ball, but he's got a confidence about him. He wants the ball. I mean, I think the most telling Quinton Post play of the game was in that third quarter where he had already hit a 3, he had already had a 2, and the Warriors are on a run, and Podziemski's got the ball, and they're on the break, and he's running, and I'm making a joke of it, comparing it to KD clapping at Draymond wanting the rock, but he was feeling it, and he knew the Magic weren't going to guard him out there, and he wanted the damn ball. Like, it was basically like, I'm on a heater, I'm the number 2 shooter on this team right now, on the court right now, get me the damn rock. And Podziemski, made a little move and got it to him in the flow, and he buried another one. And it's a confidence for somebody that was a second-round pick and was playing down in the G League. It works. It works, yeah. JMU 22, Post being older works. He knows what to do out there. And, yeah, 42% 3-point shooter. I think it might even be a little bit higher than that on the year. But it's if you're 40-plus at 7 foot and aren't soft and can set screens, you can be somebody you might play 24 minutes tonight. It's not like he's playing 35 minutes, and I don't think he's ever going to be a 35-minute type of a player, but he is an extremely valuable commodity in the NBA. And so, I mean, what he was able to do, and we've seen it. Like, there have been a couple of these, the game in Chicago, he hit a couple of, tonight was kind of reminiscent of the game in Chicago. He got hot. Steph was on one, and they didn't look great in the first half. And it's a massive third quarter. The third quarter Dubs are back, right? I guess. that third quarter dominance indicative of the championship days, but he just gives them an element that they haven't had. And it's an element that they really need when you look at the way Steve Kerr has tried to figure out some semblance of a rotation for the players that he currently has available, with Podziemski now being a starter, and they're kind of getting away with Moody playing the 4, and Jimmy Butler's out there, and Draymond's at center. And I still think that starting lineup is the lineup. Like that should be the lineup, but there are going to be some games where you're going to have to make an adjustment, and you give the credit to Kerr for making the adjustment, and the adjustment paid off. There may be some games where Quinton Post will start over maybe a Moody, or Kevon Looney might start over a Moody against a matchup where you need a little bit of defense. Like there are going to be games, even though the Warriors are still flawed and maybe don't have enough of the type of size that you really want to be a championship contender, for what they have to work with at this point, you got to be willing to be flexible. And that's where you have to give Steve Kerr the credit in a big time way for being able to be willing to make the adjustments. So I like Quinton Post, and Quinton Post is, how many games has he helped them win? We'll bring in Kyle Har here before our first time out. How many games is Quinton Post really, like, how many games can you go, yeah, they might not win that game if Quinton Post doesn't have a couple of threes here or there. 3 or 4. The Chicago game for sure. The game tonight for sure. There have been a couple other games. One more against Chicago. Like he had the game against Sacramento where he hit a couple. They ended up losing that game back in January. But, he's just – some teams are just not ready to guard a big man out there that can knock down threes at the level Post can.
Yeah, definitely the 2 Chicago games come to mind when there was buzz around, should the Warriors get Nikola Vucevic, and then the memes would come out that we would have Nikola Vucevic at home. But yeah, not to take away from Steph Curry's night, but yeah, I don't think, this is a game that they wouldn't win without Quinton Post.
No, 18 points plus 22, 7 of 9. They needed him. And yeah, it would have been a wasted Steph Curry 50-plus burger tonight if they don't, at least, because he ended up being the number 2 guy by Draymond was the next highest scorer on the team with 12 on 3 of 8 shoot. It was tonight, it was basically Steph carrying two people. Steph was the number 1 and the number 2 scorer tonight with his 56. He just 30 for Steph, and then 26 more for Steph as the secondary scorer. And then QP ends up with 18 as the we'll just call him the number 3 scorer tonight. And it winds up proving to be enough. So 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. Couple of lines open if you want to jump in the conversation. Where does tonight rank in terms of all-time great performances for Stephen Curry? And what does tonight tell you about this Warriors team? The fact that, Jimmy Butler was out there, and I'll give you those numbers that I teased as to the level at which Steph has played since Jimmy Butler has been a part of the Warriors, because he's looked completely like a top 5 player of all time since then. And we'll get into that as well coming up next. We got our sounds at Dubs OT. We got fun with numbers. We're going all the way to 11 o'clock till 9 o'clock tonight. Not 11 o'clock. Sorry. We're on the way to 9 o'clock tonight. If you want to go all the way to 11, light them up. 808 KNBR. But that was a slip. That was a slip. Going all the way to 9 o'clock tonight as we sit here at 7:30. Warriors win it 121-115. Our first time out, it's Dubs OT with JD here on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader. Quinton bleeping Post.
Dubs OT with John Dickinson keeps rolling. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
Steph from three-quarter court. Curry hits a three from beyond midcourt to end the half. That's going to count.
Listen to this crowd.
The Warriors were down 17, their biggest deficit. But Steph Curry is 7 of 11, 5 of 7 on threes. And he shot that from beyond the Magic logo.
Yeah, it was 14 right there. Warriors come out and outscore the Magic 40-21 in the third, and then they hold on down the stretch. Steph and Curry, 56 in this one, 12 three-point makes. There was a point there in the third quarter as Steph was sitting on 9 for 12, so he ended up, 3 for his last 7, but he was 9 for 12 from 3 in the third quarter, and at that point, I'm wondering, is Steph going to maybe break Klay's all-time record? It felt on the table, and he ended up too shy of tying it. 26 career games with 10 or more three-pointers made. Just some unbelievable numbers tonight in terms of Stephen Curry and where he sits and just all of the different things that he's done over the age of 30, over the age of 35, in comparison to other all-time great scorers. We'll get into all of those in our Fun with Numbers segment. There's a lot of fun with numbers stuff to get into tonight here as the Warriors get the win over the Magic. 121-115 is the final, as Stephen Curry with the third highest scoring game also in the NBA this season. Can you name the highest scoring games in the NBA this season? There's one other 56. Nikola Jokic had 56 at Washington, and that is tied for the third most. Can you name the other two? Well, if you're watching the TNT bridge between the two games, they just had it up. So it's De'Aaron Fox actually had 60 for Sacramento before he got traded back in November, and Giannis had 59 against Detroit also in November. So it's the third highest scoring game in the NBA this season. Stephen Curry going for the 56. Warriors are 32-27. That moves them for the time being up to 7th in the Western Conference. Timberwolves and Lakers going at it tonight down in Southern California, with that game set to tip off here in just a few minutes. It's about the next 5 to 10 minutes. So we'll see if the Warriors are sole possession of 7th or whether they get bumped down to 8th. But yeah, the three-pointer for Steph. And by the way, Dallas and Charlotte, we've kind of laughed at Charlotte for getting blown out these last handful of games. Charlotte is only down 3 right now in Dallas, with that game coming down to about 2 minutes to go in Dallas. And so we'll keep you updated on what ultimately happens in that game. But 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Warriors 7-1 now since the acquisition of Jimmy Butler, and the Warriors 32-27 overall. Jimmy Butler didn't have it tonight, by the way. 1 of 7, 5 points. There's going to be games like that. Jimmy Butler does have games where he looks a little bit old and his shot isn't there, and he didn't really get to the free throw line much, and his offensive game is seemingly somewhat unconfident. Are you able to withstand those and figure out ways to win in other ways? And I think the Warriors did that tonight. You know, I put this out there at halftime, and it was interesting. I had a couple of people say it didn't age well, and I think people maybe misconstrued. Like I wasn't saying that the game was over at all, but what I put out there at halftime, sane, reasonable people understand. But the first half tonight is a reminder that the Warriors are not going to dominate every game. Like, it's not 2022. It's not 2017, 2018, 2015. This roster is still in many ways flawed, even though the Warriors are trying to cobble it together with the best they can with what they have here between now until the end of the season. And I'm not saying they can't win a title either. I think it's still a tall ask that they win a title, but I'm not saying 100% that they can't. But they're not dominating every game. Like this team is going to have struggles to the level that the 22, 18, 17, and 15 teams that won titles before them did not. Like, this team is it's just a much more flawed roster. So there are going to be struggle points that they're going to have to battle through. Teams are going to get hot against them. Teams are going to attack them driving. Teams are going to attack them on the inside. There's going to be bad matchups. There's going to be hot quarters and halves. Jimmy Butler's going to have bad games too. The Warriors did not get the shooting game from Podziemski and Moses Moody that they've gotten for the most part over the last 3.5 weeks. Moody 1 for 5 tonight. Had a lot of open threes that he's been hitting that he didn't hit tonight. Brandon Podziemski, 3 of 12, 1 of 6 on twos tonight for Brandon Podziemski. So they didn't get those numbers from those guys, and they got nothing really offensively from Jimmy Butler, although he did have 7 assists. He did kind of keep it moving, but only 5 points and a 1 of 7. But nowhere in there did I say the Warriors were going to lose the game. And the game did not feel over at halftime. But Steph was the guy who kept them in it and kept them alive. And I think tonight is another indication of, and yeah, let's ride. Butler loving it right now. All-time low, and the Warriors still win. We're going to get to an early edition of Kyle's Clicks here as well, coming up on Dubs OT. But to me, the ability to win a game where Jimmy didn't have it offensively at the level to which he didn't have it, that's another indicator of that. That's a great sign. That's a phenomenal sign for the Warriors here moving forward. And so to me, and you look at the numbers, and this is what I mentioned before the break, 8 games now, the Warriors are 7-1 since Jimmy Butler was acquired. Steph's averaging 30.6. His true shooting is 70%. He's got a 70% true shooting during that time, and the Warriors are 7-1. So you get him a player that just takes a little bit of attention away, and all of a sudden he looks like a top 5 player of all time. Like, just like that. And, we were debating, God, Steph looks banged up. Steph looks a little, Kyle, you can attest to this. So much of the conference, Steph looks banged up. Steph looks like he's lost a step. Steph just looks a little bit off. Whatever it is, you add a clear-cut number 2, and it just, it's like rolled it back 3 or 4 years in terms of what we're seeing immediately. Now, I don't know whether he was, as some have said, quiet quitting or didn't believe in the roster that the Warriors had, and so he was basically saving it up. Why push through it? We've seen LeBron do that forever, and we've seen a ton of star players obviously do that over time. But, it's been incredible because a lot of the discussion was, has Steph lost it to a point where, oh my God, if the Warriors make a move, is it even going to matter? Because Steph's lost a step to the point where you're not getting that premier top 5 player of all time level from Steph. And what we've seen, Kyle, is Steph's like, no, actually, I'm still that guy. Just needed the help. Just needed a reason to bring it. Just needed a little bit of the attention taken away. Just needed another great basketball player to play next to me. And even still on a pretty flawed roster, top to bottom, an imperfect roster is probably the best way to put it. Steph looks like, he looks like a dude again immediately.
Yeah, no, I think the 7-game sample size with Jimmy Butler, if you put Steph's numbers side by side to his MVP numbers, I would have a good feeling that they're pretty comparable. But I also think, I think it was a mixture of what you brought up. Maybe he didn't truly believe that this team was a playoff contender or threat. And I think really, and he reiterates this all the time, that the confidence from himself and the team has been through the roof since the Jimmy Butler trade. And I think we're seeing the best of the best from Steph Curry.
And confidence exudes itself in different ways. Confidence is the nights where we've seen Podziemski and Moody be able to play at a level better or a couple of levels better than we've seen at any point. But confidence also is you get down 17 right before halftime and you still feel like you can win. And Steph didn't go quietly in the first half as the Warriors were kind of getting smoked at times. He was feeling good. Nobody else really was. And so he made an impact, and it kept them to where the second half started, and it was worth a fight. Max Lopez in the chat here, Steph couldn't get his game going with the pacing of his minutes pre-trade, in my humble opinion. Well, we've talked about the rotation. I think the rotation has everything to do with it, where he was playing 6, and then he was off 6, and then he was playing 4, and then he was off 4, and then he was playing 4. That's basically what it was. He was playing the first 6, then he was sitting 6, and then he'd play the start of the second quarter. He'd sit from 8 to 4, basically, in the second and fourth quarters, and then he'd come back around that 4-minute mark. Stephen Curry, and I get it, he can't play 12-6, and he had stated, I mean, go back. I mean, and again, he hasn't really played entire quarters since pre-COVID, but he played entire quarters in part because he wanted to be able to feel the game out and play long stretches. He felt it got him into a rhythm. If he didn't have it, he could feel the game out and pick his spot to get into the rhythm. He also loves closing every quarter. He wants to be out there at the end of every quarter because he thinks there's momentum attached to that. He likes doing what he did tonight, hitting buzzer beaters from 51 feet away. Like, when's the last time he hit one of those? It's been a while. Like, I mean, he was on an all-time run 10 years ago. I mean, I feel like he hasn't hit one of those in, I don't know, since COVID. Like, I mean, I'm sure there's one or two in there. Kyle, you remember one? Does one stand out? Like, when's the last?
No, not really. But
I don't remember one since.
But
COVID.
It's funny you brought up because like one of the first things Kerr said in his press conference was that Curry was so due for hitting one of those half court shots.
Yeah, I mean he hit like it felt like he hit like 3 to 5 a year for like 5 years. Like I mean I'm probably exaggerating a little bit, but I can't remember the last one that Steph actually hit.
Rap said All-Star game. I don't know if we're counting it.
All-Star game this year?
Yeah, remember when he pulled up from half court just before half court?
Oh man, I must have had my head down. I must have been snoozing. I mean, I was there. I must have been digging into my I must have been digging into a pastrami sandwich at that point. I
mean, it was the All-Star game.
It was a forgettable weekend. Yes, yes, I know it was a forgettable weekend, guys. But he's hit so many of them, and again, the double bang. As Dallas, by the way, has survived. The Mavs have survived at home against Charlotte, 103-96, the final. So Charlotte hadn't been competitive in like a week and a half. And they were competitive tonight, but the Mavs end up winning it 103-96. Phoenix, by the way, I mean, it feels like the Warriors are not necessarily in the mix with Phoenix, at the level now, because I mean, Phoenix is, I think, 4 under. The Warriors are 5 over now, so they've got like a 4-5 game. And Phoenix is the first team out. Phoenix is down 4 with a couple of minutes. Let me make sure I get this right. Phoenix is down 4 with 7 minutes to go at home against the Pelicans. So, and they play the Pelicans a couple of times. So Phoenix is in a really bad way. So we'll see if they can come back and win that again. They're playing the Pelicans back-to-back nights, and then Dallas and the Lakers. Minnesota and the Lakers underway. Lakers have a 16-8 lead in that one as things sit right now. All right, 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Kyle, let's do an early edition of Kyle's Clicks here. Some of the best from the YouTube chat as we get caught up here tonight. Erwin Kwong Post carved out his own Post code. Yeah, Post has been awesome for the Warriors here. And, should he start? Not necessarily every night. I mean, I think there are some nights where you can go to it just to get Draymond off that center spot and get away with it. But again, you know what else happened tonight? The Warriors won another game with Moses Moody in the starting lineup. So even though he didn't start the second half, Moses Moody gets credit for the 11-0 record for the Warriors in games that he starts. What else are we rolling with? Rusty Nail. Whole team is ignited since the trade. I never thought Jimmy would be the catalyst to reinvigorate this team, but here we are. I mean, I've said it a lot. They didn't have a choice but to do this. Like this trade was a no-brainer. It was not without, and don't misconstrue no-brainer with no risk, because there was absolutely risk. But when you look at the guys who were shipped out, and Andrew Wiggins, as we've talked about a lot, had to be a part of it no matter what. And Schroeder goes elsewhere, and the first round pick for this year going out. I mean, you look at Lindy Waters. I mean, you look at the things that had to be done. Kyle Anderson, who was a well-liked and respected player. This trade was a no-brainer. And it could have not had the impact that it's had to this point. But the Warriors were headed to a horrific place. They were headed to I think they were headed to Phoenix, San Antonio land in terms of 10, 11, 12. I mean, Sacramento has not been great, but they're 2 over. I mean, and they've got the Kings have an unbelievable stretch coming up here in March, beginning Saturday, where I wouldn't be surprised if they dip in the stand, or dip with their record. They may not dip in the standings because Phoenix can't beat freaking anybody, including now the Pelicans, after getting blown out in Toronto and losing a game against Memphis where they actually competed, and they're down 4 with 6 minutes to go. But yeah, the Warriors are ignited. I mean, they had to go for it. They had to go for it because they weren't giving up any of their younger players. I mean, I get it. It seems easy to now at 7-1, but tonight's just an indicator of once you build that confidence, it just comes out in different ways. And tonight, I think you saw, I mean, this is one of the more impressive Warrior wins based on the fact that really nobody had it going other than Steph and Quinton Post in that third quarter, and they still had enough on a historic night to get the job done. J-Mood 22, I believe this team really needs JK. Even though they want him to be like Butler, they play completely differently. Both play inside, but JK looks for a shot more while Butler sets up teammates. Yeah, I think it's more about the mentality than anything. I don't think they're actually similar players. I think your point on the skill set is spot on. And I do think tonight is a night where Kuminga could have helped with nobody really having anything going, but yet he's able to kind of get things rolling a little bit. So I think, tonight, could have been one of those nights where Kuminga might have had 12 points in the first half, and instead of being down 14, maybe you're only down 6 or you're only down 8. Maybe he's got 6 or 8 to 10 points at that point, and you're only down. You're not down even double digits because he's one of the guys that maybe he's playing a little bit well. I think you look at what Steve Kerr said as it relates to Kuminga the other day. I think he's perfect guy for JK to emulate. To me, what Steve was saying was, and it's the direct quote, what makes Jimmy special is he doesn't try to be special. To me, it's that mentality. He wants Kuminga to try to he wants Kuminga to use the skills Kuminga has, but he just wants him to play more fundamental basketball and don't think that he has to try to be special every second. That it's not that Kuminga isn't talented. It's just don't think you got to come back and look to get 30 or 25 like he was doing before the trade. That ain't it. It's fit in the context of the system, and you're going to get opportunities to score 20 to 30 if guys are out or on a given night where the matchups play into your favor, but you're not going to be hunting it every night. Like you're a role player. Like I think that's basically play with the mentality of a role player. Use your skill set, play with the mentality of a role player, and Jimmy Butler's fundamentals. I think if I can overly simplify it, I think that's what it was. Enrique Rivera, Jimmy was on point defensively, cutting, setting screens, incredible vision, but passing way too much. And look, to me, and we've seen this with other Warrior players, Kyle, Jimmy was passing tonight at the level that he was because he was completely unconfident in his shot. He did not want to shoot. He took a few early, and and I don't know whether Jimmy, maybe it came out in the post-game press conferences that he just was not, maybe wasn't feeling well, or he kind of looked like he wasn't feeling, but he did not have his shot or his scoring edge. But yeah, you do everything else. I do think he was solid defensively, and the passing though is just unconfident. It's funny. We've seen Draymond be a guy who doesn't want to take a shot. We've seen Podziemski be a guy that doesn't want to take a shot. We've seen others up and down this Warriors lineup in a rotation that don't want to take shots. And I thought Jimmy tonight at times looked like a guy that didn't want to take a shot. He couldn't get fouled. The mid-range was kind of taken away, and he was just, I don't want it. I'm not hitting it. And so, yeah. I think San Jose Jazz fan 4, maybe Orlando, the height took away the mid-range. Yes, but how many mid-range, I think to that point, how many mid-range shots did he even attempt in this one? I'm going to bring up the Jimmy Butler shot chart here as we go to all players. Jimmy Butler, I'm just talking myself through. Yeah, he took a couple right wing jumpers in the mid-range and missed them both. He took the 3 threes that were bad. He had one at the bucket that was missed, and then the one that he hit was like a turnaround jumper early in the second quarter. It was like a 8 to 10 foot jumper in the lane, just in front of the circle that he was able to hit there. So yeah, just again, unconfident in terms of his shooting, but that's okay. And yeah, as Regulator points out, I don't want Jimmy forcing it. Being overly aggressive can be bad. Yeah, he was towing the line between, I think, thinking about whether he wanted to take a bad shot and force the action a little bit, or whether he wanted to keep it moving the best he could. I didn't feel that he wasn't a threat. Like, I think that was the line that he was trying to toe. Like, I don't think he wanted to let the defense believe that he was completely unthreatening to be able to take a shot. But at the same time, I think his mindset was, I really don't want to shoot it. So JC Mack, has Steve broken Jimmy already? He seemed to not want to shoot anymore. Again, no. He just doesn't seem confident in his shot. It's not the system or anything like that. I mean, he had 3 good looks at threes, and they were all, I mean, it was just his line drive. I mean, they were like perfect, like Buster Posey line drives to right field. For prime Buster Posey line drive between the second baseman and the right fielder for a base hit. So no, I don't think Steve's broken Jimmy Butler or anything like that. I think Jimmy Butler's shot is why Jimmy Butler didn't shoot. He's not confident in it. And enter the Draymond, our final one here. We'll take another timeout as we get to the 8:00 hour here on KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM San Francisco, a Cumulus media station. Enter the Draymond. Jimmy looked like he needed some big face coffees. Yeah, he looked a little low energy. He looked a little low energy. I don't know what was going on there. It looked like, again, I don't know if anything came out in the post game that maybe he was a little under the weather or anything like. It looked like he went to Disney World yesterday. If you follow him on his on his IG story. He was rolling up in an Uber or Lyft to Disney World after the Warriors landed there.
I would be gassed too.
So yeah, maybe he was riding the rides.
Yeah, got a little dizzy.
Yeah, maybe he was riding the rides at Disney World. By the way, Pelicans up 116-108 with 3:24 to go. So things getting worse for the Suns. Already 4 under and down 8 now with about 3:24 to go. Got that game on here in the home studio. Got the Lakers and the Timberwolves on as well here. Mavericks got the win over the Hornets. So let's take a quick timeout. We'll come back. We'll get more from the YouTube chat. We got a couple of phone lines open. We'll get to the Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line as well. And also our Sounds of Dubs OT coming up as the Warriors win a big one, 121-115. It's KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
back with more Blue and Gold. This is Dubs OT with John Dickinson on the Sports Leader. Streaming live at KNBR.com and on the KNBR app.
They have a lot of confidence with their shooting. They're going to keep shooting jumpers. Quinton Post for the three. And now Orlando has to take time. From down 17 and within 6. So Quinton Post, the 52nd pick of the draft, he's been perfect 5 of 5.
Yeah, and Wendell Carter then picked up a tech. Warriors in the midst of erasing a 17-point deficit at that point in time. They go on to win 121-115. Huge game for Steph Curry. One of the great games of Steph Curry's career. And he's been reinvigorated. 56 points. What is it about February 27th, Kyle Haar? 56 points tonight, 12 three-pointers made. It's the second time in his career on this date he's made 12 three-pointers in a game. We're talking about the double bang in Oklahoma City. Warriors come back against the Thunder in the 73-9 year on this date 9 years ago. And he had 46 on that night in OKC, 12 three-pointers made. He also had the 54-point Madison Square Garden performance on February 27th of 2013. And made 11 threes in that game at MSG. MSG to come here on Tuesday after the Warriors play in Philly Saturday and Charlotte on Monday. And then they'll stay over in Manhattan and play the Brooklyn Nets. They'll go over to Brooklyn and play the Nets on Thursday before coming back home. But yeah, what is it about February 27th and Steph Curry, 3 of the all-time great games of his NBA career coming on that date? I can't explain it. I mean, we're talking about 12 years apart here, Kyle, and 9 years since the last one, but Steph gets on a heater on February 27th, and it's been incredible, Kyle, to witness here over the last 12 years.
No, it's funny that you brought that up because we have Sports Center on one of our TVs, and they literally just showed that highlight as from the Thunder game that you were just talking about. And for me, I think that game was probably the greatest Warrior regular season game that I've ever seen. And I mean, that shot in particular just made my jaw drop. I remember I was in I think I was like downtown shopping with my dad, and I think in Nordstrom's they had a TV on, and like everyone kind of around our area was stopped and was watching the game, and when he made that, like everyone was in disbelief. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was just insanity, and the Warriors won that game. They needed overtime to win that game. The Warriors, I always joke, and I forget the exact number, and I had forgotten the exact number, so I looked it up. The Warriors' record after they won that game, and that was truly a season all the way up until ultimately, and I don't want to belabor this, but ultimately until they lost Game 7 to the Cavs in the finals. I mean, it felt like the Warriors won every single close game, and even games they'd be down 8 with 2 minutes left and they'd win. Like, it just felt like it just happened over and over and over. Do you remember the Warriors' record after they won that game? Because I always kind of joke, they were 50-4 or something. Like, I always joke, and it was. Do you remember the Warriors' record?
Well, no, but I remember I was listening to Papa and Silver earlier today, and I think they hit on that point. I think they were 55-4, 56-4,
53-5 with the win. 53-5. That was their 5th straight win. Actually, no, that was their 5th straight win on their way to winning 7 in a row. But before they would take an L, and then they'd win another 7 in a row. And then they took an L, and then they won 6 in a row. And then it got a little choppier there down toward the end, although they won their final 4 games after they had gotten to 69-9. They had to run the table to get to 73 and break the Bulls record. And they beat San Antonio twice to be able to do it. And if you remember, San Antonio was a mid to high 60s win team themselves that year. And the Warriors able to beat them a couple of times, once over at Oracle. They beat the Spurs twice and the Grizzlies twice down the stretch there in 2016, including the Grizzlies at the end to get to 73-9. But yeah, incredible stuff, incredible performance from Stephen Curry in this one as the Warriors win it 121-115. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. The Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line open if you want to jump in and join the conversation there. Where does this one rank in terms of the all-time great Stephen Curry performances? And I think tonight, even on a night where Jimmy Butler didn't have it offensively, it's a night where, you know, his presence allowed for Steph Curry to still have enough fight to be able to get on a roll and get on a heater and keep the Warriors in the game. I mean, they as poorly as they played in the first half, it felt like they should have been down 25. And if you're down 25, you're probably not coming back and winning that game. But as the 415 points out on the Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line, Butler is the straw that stirs the drink. The 925 Warriors and Curry back putting the league on notice. 650 Curry lights out, taking over and closing out games. As big as the third quarter was, I mean, it really is three phases to this game. He ends up with 56, 16-25, 12-19. But it really was three different phases. It was the 21 in the first half that prevented the Warriors from getting blown out. It was the 51-footer that cut the lead from 17-14 and I think gave the Warriors a little bit of life going in at halftime. Then it was the 22-point third quarter where Steph is 4 for 6 from 3, 6 of 8 overall, and the Warriors outscored the Magic 40-21. It was the Stephen Curry, Quinton Post takeover. Steph and QP with 32 of the Warriors' 40 in the quarter. Now, Steph had 20. It was Steph 22, Quinton Post 10, and Post had those 10 in a hurry in the first 3 minutes, all 10 in the first 3 minutes. It was QP for the first. Curry hit a 3, and then Quinton Post had 10, and then Curry went off from that point to be able to push the Warriors to the 40-21 lead. So it was that phase, the third quarter. And then you look at the fourth quarter, and Steph ends up with 13 in the fourth, hit 4 free throws there at the end. But it was the three threes that Steph made down the stretch were all, I mean, they were all just huge. I mean, you look at the huge three-pointers for Steph at big moments. I mean, he hit a 3 to put him up 108-99, and that was the point where you thought, all right, this thing might be over. But the Magic are able to come back, score 5 quick ones to cut it to 4. Curry hits another one to make it 111-104. And then the Magic continue to make their push to get it to 111-109. So 2-point game. So Curry's hit 2 dagger threes from to put the Warriors up 7, to put the Warriors up 5, or put the Warriors up 9 and put the Warriors up 7. And the Magic keep coming. And it's down to a 2-point game. And then Curry hits another one at the shot clock buzzer, just gets it off within a second of the shot clock expiring to put them up 114-109. I mean, with the way the Magic were rolling at that point, it felt like if any one of those threes ends up being a miss, the Magic may end up stealing the game at that point. So it was really it was the first half to keep the Warriors from getting blown out. It was the third quarter to help flip the game along with Quinton Post, and then it was the 3 massive 3-pointers to allow the Warriors just enough separation to get a couple of stops and prevail in this one, 121-115. Let's get Eric and Millbrae here on Dubs OT on the Sports Leader. What's going on, Eric?
Hey, what's going on, man? That was
How you doing?
Pretty good. Very impressive, man. Curry, just incredible as usual. Nothing like him. One of the best shows in all of sports. Still, at this point in his career, no guy like him getting MVP chance from the opposing crowd. That's how incredible he is. And to me, I thought Post was critical right there. Really getting that key stretch run there. That quick 10 points really got the squad going there. And Curry, I know, really took him home, but Post really outstanding there, really getting them because they were slugged. For some reason, Orlando always a tough matchup for them. Always typically a grind out game for the Warriors. But looking at this road trip here, they should really handle business. The Warriors play like to their capabilities. Outside of that Knicks game, and even them, the Knicks are up and down. I know they're still a really good top 3 seed, but I think at best they should have maybe one loss. I think everybody else on this road trip, they should handle the business. If you're the Warriors, your goal is really to, at this point, finish in the 6th seed. I think the Clippers are going to drop off. I think the Warriors are going to move up to them. I don't think they're going to be able to catch the Lakers at this point in the season with less than a quarter left of games. So if everything goes accordingly, we just need Denver to finish second because I think Denver is a very tough matchup. They scared me even more than OKC. The Warriors always play OKC very well, and so I'm not really concerned about them. So you want to hope Memphis finishes third. So ideally, the first round matchup for the Warriors to finish 6th seed, you want Memphis. I think they'll handle Memphis, take them out. You want them to be a matchup because if that's the path there, I think the Warriors can really make a deep playoff run. So if you're the Warriors, take care of your business and hope Denver takes care of theirs and finishes the 2nd seed. I think the Warriors are going to be sitting pretty for a nice deep playoff run. I'll get your opinion on that. But Curry, once again, man, just iconic as usual. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, appreciate it, Eric. Eric and Milbury checking in. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader. Warriors win again. 121-115, the final 7-1 since the Jimmy Butler trade. Steph Curry, an all-time career performance for him up there. Not the best regular season game necessarily of his career, but it's in the conversation. I think top 5 to be sure regular season game for Stephen Curry without a doubt as he goes for 56 and knocks down 12 3-pointers. A couple of things to touch on off of what Eric had to say. Yeah, the Magic are always tough. They have length at the wing position and size. And it's not so much the 7-footer type size, but it's the length at the wing position size. There's 2 types of size that give the Warriors trouble. It's the 7-footers that are skilled and or athletic and can move a little bit. The guys that can be a little bit physical with them, hit them on the boards, that kind of thing, own the game a little bit defensively. It's that type of big. The Magic don't really have that level of bigs, but they have wings. The Magic have 1 through 5 or 1 through 4, really, probably the tallest lineup in the league when they're fully healthy and cooking and clicking. And you look at, I mean, from Wagner to Banchero to Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, all of those guys are, they have the ability to really, it's just, they can hound you. And Banchero was cooking them. He really was. As far as the road trip, look, this is the 2nd toughest game on the road trip on paper. And games are not played on paper. But if you said, JD, rank the games in terms of degree of difficulty, the 5 on this Warriors road trip, I would have said Knicks 1, Orlando 2, and then 3, 4, and 5. I mean, you can 3, 4, and 5. Charlotte 5, and then we can quibble about Brooklyn or Philly. Probably Philly 3, Brooklyn 4 at this point, just because Philly will. Philly's a powder keg right now, but that is still an ABC Saturday night showcase game. You could go into Philly and play a great first quarter, and their fans are going to boo them right off the floor. And it can be a really ugly night for them. I mean, Chicago just went in there and beat them by 30 plus and put up 140 points within the last week. And we've seen how bad Chicago is. And they got guys that aren't playing. They got guys who are physically actually out on the court that aren't playing. They got guys that are actually physically not on the court that are not playing. Like Philly is a nightmare right now, a calamity. But I still think, that is a game where the nation will be laughing at the Philadelphia 76ers if the Warriors work them. So I think that's a game where maybe you get a better effort from the Sixers than you would otherwise. I think, that's another area which I think this whole thing sets up really well for the Warriors moving forward is they didn't play a great game tonight, but Steph was so great and they did enough that they're basically, I think, due to play better on Saturday. And you're lined up to do that against a team that isn't nearly as good or as talented in terms of some of the matchups as even the Orlando team that the Warriors face tonight. So that being said, so Philly, Brooklyn, Charlotte are kind of in their own like those are the three that to me were the games you got to win. Price of admission wins for the Warriors. Orlando is a game where I think it's, this is a game they could have lost and they almost did. And so I wasn't surprised that the Magic got off and played well. And then the Knicks game is the toughest game, but it's TNT, it's Madison Square Garden. I think, to me, that's the game that, the Knicks are going to be the most up for, but that's also the game that the Warriors are going to be the most up for of all the games on this trip. So you have to believe bright lights game for the Dubs. Maybe they put forth one of their best. So that'll be a good test. And the couple of games against the Knicks coming up in March are going to be a lot of fun. And then the standings, I think the Lakers and Denver are the 2 and 3 teams in the Western Conference. And the Lakers are smoking Minnesota right now, up 18. Got that game on in the second quarter down in Los Angeles. Like they're figuring it out. Like 48-29, so up 19 with about 6 to go before halftime. About 6 to go before halftime. I'm trying to look across the room here at the screen. But I think if you're the Warriors, you want to get to 6. Right now, that would get you Denver. Here's the thing, though. If Denver and the Lakers are 2-3, you're getting one of them. And I kind of feel like Denver and the Lakers are, and I want to get your thoughts on this quickly, Kyle. I kind of feel like, Denver and the Lakers are the two. They're going to battle for 2-3. OKC we know is 1. You are kind of needing a team that isn't as good as one of those two to beat them out in terms of the rest of the regular season. Because if you get to 6, if the standings stay true, you're getting the Lakers or the Nuggets, which still makes it a very difficult first-round series for the Warriors. I agree. You want Houston. You want Memphis. I'm looking at it right now. Memphis is still 2 games up on the Lakers. The Rockets have moved back in front of the Lakers, although the Lakers will have a shot to move back in front of them with their win, assuming they get it tonight. But, getting to 6, you may still get a team that's better than a couple of the other teams that you might want to face. I think the Warriors definitely want to face a Memphis or a Houston in the first round.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I think if it was between the Nuggets and the Lakers, I would rather go against the Lakers, even though they still have LeBron in the playoffs. But I think it might come down to who has the better defense. And I would obviously give that edge to the Warriors, but I think the Lakers are one of those teams where you might be able to blow out by 20 points, but they could blow you out by 30 or 40.
Yeah, I think we're going to learn a lot, and I'm glad. So the Warriors have 2 games left against Denver. They only play the Nuggets 3 times. The only time they've played this year was that game the Warriors blew back in early December in Denver. They play them twice at Chase, once in early April, once in the middle of March. It's coming up on this homestand in the middle of the long homestand that's coming up after this road trip. And then they play at LA. Actually, it's a back-to-back in April. They play at LA, and then Denver is the first game for the Warriors back off a 6-game road trip there that first week of April. But those 3 games head-to-head, I think, are going to be critical to look at what the matchups are viewed at. How does this Warriors team – because here's the one thing we know about Denver. The Warriors haven't beaten Denver since they eliminated Denver in the 2022 playoffs. They haven't beaten them. Well, not once. 8 straight for Denver against the Warriors. They swept the 2-season series the last 2 years, a 4-game sweep, a 3-game sweep, and they won the first game in Denver, even though the Warriors had the lead with about 3 minutes to go and kind of kicked that game away. So that's what we know. Since the Nuggets have been a legitimate championship contender these last couple of years, the Warriors have not beaten them once. Here's what we also know. This is a different Warrior team now. So how does this Warrior team stack up with this Nuggets team? We're going to learn a lot in the 2 games at Chase, one in March, one in April. I'm also fascinated by the Lakers. I want to see how it looks because the Lakers had just been a maddening matchup. LeBron plays like he's 25 against the Warriors. I mean, every game. I mean, he's been doing that against other teams besides the Warriors, but he rolls the clock back a decade against the Warriors. But Anthony Davis truly, I think, was the barometer for that matchup. So, and not that Luka is a slouch in this whole thing, but Anthony Davis, I think, was the key because he would control the paint against the Warriors, and LeBron would defensively just pick his spots to play the passing lanes against the Warriors' cuts and blow it up, basically call out everything the Warriors are doing. And Davis would be back there to get the rebound or block a shot or alter. And then Davis would just hammer the Warriors on the offensive glass, and he would hammer them in the paint. And so it's twofold. I want to see what this Warriors team has got cooking against the new look, their new look against the new look Lakers. So those 3 games are probably games I've got circled maybe more than any other 3 between now and the end of the season as we head toward the playoffs, because there is still, I think, a significant chance that the Warriors play either Denver or the Lakers if both of those teams reach their truest of potential between now and the end of the year. And look, maybe they don't. Maybe they dip a little bit, knowing that they're going to be. Maybe they look to duck the Warriors. Maybe they don't want the Warriors. Maybe they don't want the Warriors any more than the Warriors would want them. And at some point they say, yeah, you know what? We're cool in this 4-5. Like, you know what, Lakers, yeah, we're cool playing the Rockets. Because there's going to be a little bit of a choice to be had there. I don't think anybody's going to want to be 3. If it's Memphis and Denver, like they're going to be wanting to avoid the Warriors, but I think you could also see the 4-5 teams maybe wanting to avoid the Warriors, and maybe they dip a little bit to stay at 4-5. So I think that's definitely something to keep an eye on here as we head toward the stretch run of the season. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick timeout. We'll come back. A final segment. We'll have Sounds of Dubs OT. We've got more coming up here from the YouTube chat, as always, and a lot of fun with numbers tonight as we close things out. Warriors get the win over the Orlando Magic, 121-115. It's KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
KNBR presents the sounds of Dubs OT.
I can see the headline now. Kerr says Warriors better without Curry.
No class, no balls.
I want to get my joy back. I'm happy here, off the court.
Now here's John Dickinson.
All right, final segment. Warriors win in Orlando. First of the 5-game road trip, 121-115 is the final. Dubs OT with JD here, 808 KNBR. We'll be back with you on Saturday. Make sure you're locked in for Just Dubs from 10 a.m. until 11 here on the Sports Leader. We'll be talking about Steph Curry's performance. We'll look back at the last week, look ahead at what's remaining here on this Warriors road trip, as the Warriors still have Philadelphia, Charlotte, the Knicks, and also the Brooklyn Nets before returning home. And then we've got you covered with Dubs OT on Saturday as well, following the Warriors and the Sixers, and Dubs OT all next week on the radio, on YouTube and Twitch. And those are all going to be straight up 7 o'clock starts, by the way. Some 4:30 games that are going to end right around 7. We've also got another one of those 4 o'clock games like tonight. Tonight was a 4 o'clock in the afternoon game, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific in Orlando. I think the Charlotte game's a 4. I think the 2 games in New York are 4:30s. But just so everybody knows, we're going to be straight up 7 o'clock starts next week for those games during the week, right after Niners Nightly. It'll coincide with the end of the game within 10 to 15 minutes there. So nothing too significant. And then the one will be a little bit like tonight. And we'll be on right at the final horn on Saturday with the Warriors and the Philadelphia 76ers. Will be on from the home studio. No waiting for that one. With Kyle Harr at the controls in our San Francisco studios. Let's get to our sounds at Dubs OT. Unbelievable, historic night for Steph Curry as he goes for 56. But it wasn't completely about Steph, with the Warriors down 14 at the half. And Steve Kerr made an adjustment that's been a big part of the headlines as it relates to the Dubs winning this game tonight. And here's what the head coach had to say about Quinton Post taking the spot of Moses Moody in the second half.
Just to change the matchups and get Draymond on Paolo. That's our best matchup, and that put Jimmy on Franz. So it was what John was asking before the game. With the small lineup, can we do that against this team? And first half, it didn't work, and so you make the adjustment and hope it works. Quinton was great. He obviously knocked down shots, but it was his defense too, and his size, and what it did changing the matchups defensively that really helped us.
Yeah, and Quinton Post, by the way, the 16 points in the second half, I just went to look second half versus first. He's a plus 26 in the second half. Banchero still had 17 in the second half after the adjustment to put Draymond on him primarily. Jimmy Butler moves over to Wagner. And Banchero had 17 and Wagner had 15 in the second half alone. Warriors, though, won the second half 69-49. And Banchero, 6 of 15 in the second half after a 10 of 12 first half. And Wagner was 5 of 10 in the first half. You look at Wagner's second half. I mean, he was pretty much similar there with Jimmy Butler, sliding over and being able to be on him. He ended up with the 50% for the night, all told, at 11 of 22. But Banchero was the guy that the Warriors really ended up making work a lot harder in the second half. 24 in the first. He ended up with the 17 in the second half, but 6 of 15 in the second half. He cooled off from 3. The Warriors made him work for it a little bit more. He was a minus 20 in the second half. So the adjustment winds up working in terms of the defensive assignments. It also winds up working in terms of Quinton Post providing the Warriors with what they needed on a night where Steph went for 56, which was, who's the secondary scorer going to be? Well, tonight it was Quinton Post. All right, let's hear a couple of more from Steve Kerr on the man of the evening and the man who owns February 27th in his NBA career. That's Stephen Curry. Here is the head coach, Steve Kerr, talking about how spoiled everyone is by what Steph Curry does when he gets on a historic heater.
Yeah, I mean, Raymond just said it was his 26th game with 10 or more threes. So we're spoiled around here. We're used to it, but it never gets old watching. I can tell you that. I think the fans here tonight, even the Magic fans, they know they're witnessing greatest shooter ever and one of the greatest performers ever. It's not just the shots going in, it's just the fluidity, the beauty of his movement and motion and his audacity, the shots that he's willing to take. He's an incredible performer, and he put on quite a show tonight.
There were a few audacious shots that Steph put up tonight, and he was hitting. And again, it's unreal. And look, we hadn't seen too many of these. I think Bill Simmons had put out their first wild, Steph Curry game of the year. Yeah, in terms of scoring number and output. But if you've been watching this team all year, he's had a lot more life in the last 3 weeks. And the Chicago third quarter was one. There's been smaller stretches in some of these games they've won during the 8-game stretch where Jimmy Butler's been a part of it. But it really, other than the last 3 weeks, I mean, it was really the first 10 to 15 games of the season when Steph, helped them win the game in Boston down the stretch, helped them stave off the Thunder. The three that stand out, the third one was the Dallas game where the Warriors are down and Klay Thompson's return and refused to allow the Warriors to lose that game on that night. So he's had some moments, but in terms of the sheer raw 50-burger, unbelievable numbers, making every shot, top 5 of all time kind of performances, this was the one for the Warriors season, to be sure, to this point. I was talking about earlier the fact that I couldn't remember the last time Steph hit a half-court or a beyond half-court shot. It feels like, and I'm sure I'm wrong, I'm sure there's been one or two in the last 5 years, but it feels like there hasn't been any since prior to COVID. But he hit one tonight right before the half, 51-footer from really about 2/3 of court. I know a lot of people were saying 3/4. It was 2/3, I think, probably more like it. Regardless, an incredible shot, and Steve Kerr addressed it post-game saying Steph was due.
He was due for one of those. That's what I love about Steph, and one of many things I love about Steph. He always shoots the half-court shots. He doesn't care about his percentage, and he's had so many the last couple of years that were right there. And as soon as he let it go, I said, that's him. I just felt it. And I thought that set a good tone for the second half, gave us a little bit of a lift. Everybody was excited. And then obviously our defense was dramatically better second half.
Yeah, no doubt. 49 points allowed for the Warriors defensively in the second half. After you look at the first half, Magic end up with 66, and that's a big part of the story in this one tonight. All right, let's hear from the man of the night, Stephen Curry. And he wanted to talk more about the resilient effort of his teammates as he ended up pouring on an all-time heater tonight in Orlando.
God is good, man. I'm just blessed to, like I always say, play this game, enjoy the competition, the creativity, and it's grown over the years where you can thrive off of a road crowd, which is pretty insane. I had a little flurry in the first half, and you started to feel the energy. So for us to win this game, obviously it took all those points, but it took a collective resilience that I love that we showed tonight. It could have been easy to lay down the first game of a road trip down 16, 18, whatever it was, but we all clawed back, and I fed off my teammates' energy too.
I don't think there's anybody in the NBA that feeds off a road crowd the way Steph Curry does. I think it's unlike, and look, the great ones I think do it. I think Michael Jordan did it. Right, always having massive games in big moments on the road. He hits the shot at the end of his career in Salt Lake City, which at that point was as raucous, I think, a crowd as ever. He always had a bunch of big games, big playoff moments, big regular season moments at Madison Square Garden. He had the quintessential game of his early NBA career when he had the 63 in the Boston Garden in a year where the Celtics were the NBA champions, that year back in the mid 80s. But that was the game, in a place where I think the Celtics lost one time that entire season. Maybe might have been two, but one or two. They were either 40-1 or 39-2 at home in that year in the regular season. And so the great ones have it. Jordan had that. LeBron has that. Kobe Bryant had that. The true all-time greats, I think, feed off of the road crowd. And that's one thing. I mean, we talk about the shot that he hit 9 years ago in OKC. There are just some buildings. I mean, Sacramento in Game 7, most recently. Boston in 2022 in Game 4 when the Warriors are down 2-1. In Game 6 where the Warriors are trying to put that game away. Some of the games that he's had even in Houston over the years, in Memphis when he hit the long shot back in 2015 in the closeout game as the Warriors came back and beat the Grizzlies. Like, Steph has always been on one in the away buildings to put teams away, and he has the ability because the fans sense it. Fans sense it. And I've covered enough of these games, not in person tonight, but to know, like, when he gets on one, and the most recent one really is the 50 in Sacramento in the Game 7, like, he starts going off, and you could feel in the building, one, the energy to not try to not allow for it to happen, but also the energy once he gets going, like, oh, like, you could just feel like the fans are just like, oh, we're not winning today. Like, it's just not like, it's unbelievable. And then I think they also get caught up in regular season mode tonight, Orlando. And I think the crowd there got caught up in, and I think it's to a credit of the Magic fan base. I think they got a little caught up in, we're seeing something special. We're seeing something that's greater than a regular season game in February for a team that's 500, a couple of teams that are basically within a couple of games either way of 500. And so I think they got caught up in it, and that's where it truly becomes even more special. So more from Steph, couple of more here as we close out the night on Dubs OT. And he addressed it, and this also courtesy of NBC Sports Bay Area. Here's Steph on what it feels like to get on one of those heaters that he's so known for throughout the course of his career.
It was fun, like, really cool atmosphere. And obviously I was coming on a cross-country flight. We were a little slow the first quarter, the whole first half. Felt like it was one of those kind of nights where you just need to keep us afloat. And we would be able to have a little bit more juice in the second half. And that's kind of how it played out. But I didn't have too much going in the first quarter, but once you see a couple go down, juices start flowing and the rim grows, and just keep shooting and just having fun with it.
And nobody, I think, has done that at the level that Steph Curry does, to be sure. It ends up with 56 points and the 12 3-point makes as the Warriors get the win, 121-115. All right, let's go one more with Steph here, and then we'll get a couple of Draymonds. We'll do Kyle's clicks and call it a night with some fun with numbers. A heavy Steph Curry edition here in terms of the fun with numbers. But here's what Steph had to say in terms of rhythm and flow and how that plays into going off the way that he did.
No, I think you have nights like these, you get them all different type of ways. Off the dribble, off pin downs, relocations. That's when double-digit nights like that happen, because you're just finding a rhythm and a flow, and the ball is finding you at the right time. But you got to have the footwork, the balance, the confidence to shoot them, and no matter how they come, and be ready for your moment. So I practice all of them. And no matter how you get to it, as long as there's certain nights, it's we call it very syrupy. It's just, it flows.
And tonight it was definitely flowing. How much of it is the vibe, the lighting, the depth perception, all those different things? Different players have different buildings that they really like shooting in and really like playing in. And here's Draymond Green post game. And I was kind of wondering about this, and I didn't know Steph had necessarily addressed it, but I was kind of wondering, I'm like, God, is Steph really? I mean, he had a 50-point game there. I think in the 15-16 year, he had a 50-point game in that building in Orlando. I'm thinking, man, is Orlando just a place where he just kind of digs the vibe? And so Draymond had a little to say to add to that point post game.
I don't know, but it's funny because we were sitting around the other day. He started naming like 5 arenas. And he like, that's a great arena. Like, it's always great when we play there. And this was one of them. So it was good to see him put on that performance because we needed it.
And yeah, the Warriors absolutely needed it. But again, when the guys are sitting around, and look, I can totally see, Steph. It again, some places have that. I've always thought Orlando's a pretty good, never having been there, but I've always thought Orlando seems like a pretty good atmosphere through the years. Obviously, an expansion team when I was real little, but with the Shaq Penny days and then the Dwight Howard days, and I mean they've had varying degrees of some pretty good teams never winning a championship, but some pretty good teams and some not so good teams. But I always feel like the vibe is pretty good there. Has kind of an old school vibe to it a little bit, even though they're a relatively new team in NBA history, coming in at the end of the 80s there. I think 80, 89, 90 was the first year of the Magic. But Steph likes it, and clearly, and he's got a couple of 50-point performances in that building to show for it. One more for Draymond. Everybody, for the most part, has been dialed in since the trade. Here's what Draymond Green had to say about Steph Curry specifically. We had the numbers earlier. 31 points a game for Steph with a true shooting percentage of 70 since the trade, and multiple heaters. Here's Draymond on Steph upping his game since the Dubs picked up Jimmy Butler.
100%. Since the trade, he's been so dialed in. He told you guys, like, all you want to do is play with expectations, have some expectations. Meant that. And I think, you look at the body of work over the course of years, obviously we know that's true, but, you start looking at these performances that's been coming since the trade, and it makes complete sense, So I think there's definitely more of a sense of urgency for sure.
Yeah, and again, the Warriors they believe right now that they can get to 6. Somebody on the Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line said, JD, do you think 5's realistic? 408. I don't think 5 is realistic. I'm kind of not. I mean, the Lakers are 5 right now. The Warriors have already lost, so they don't have the tiebreaker on the Lakers. I think if the Rockets get to 5, I'm looking at the Rockets right now. Well, the Lakers are up now at halftime, but I'll use the Lakers as an example since they're technically 5th right now. But if you do the math on the Lakers projection right now, the Lakers are on pace to win 51. 51. So the 5th seed is on pace to win 51. So if you're the Warriors, are you going to go? That would be what? You'd have to get to 52 because you don't have the tiebreaker. So if it's the Lakers, you'd have to get to 52. If it's the Rockets, you could get to 51, but the Rockets are on pace maybe to win 52. So you basically have to get to 52. So can you go to win 52 games? You have to go 20-3. So, and unless a team really dips, you'd have to go 20-3. At the pace that the Lakers and Rockets are currently on, you'd have to go 20-3 to get to 5th. So I think most likely the Warriors are playing for 6th. Again, that's assuming the Lakers and Rockets remain at their current pace. One of them, I think maybe more likely the Rockets, would have the potential to free fall and not play at the level. Maybe they're 500, but then you got to make up 5 games at some point somewhere. And that's how you ultimately get the job done. So, all right, that's going to do it in terms of Sounds of Dubs OT here for tonight on Dubs OT with JD, and we got Kyle Haar and Raf Corral and everybody doing a great job back at our San Francisco studios. Let's get to Kyle's clicks here. And the best of the best here from the last half hour to hour of the program from the YouTube chat. Officially, we're still working on the imaging. We got to get Kyle Haar some love. But yeah, Kyle's clicks with a K. Kyle's clicks with a K are coming up here. So what do we got, Kyle? We'll run through as many as you see fit. Okay, I like that. I'm gonna let that one just stand. From DVDV. Appreciate you. Read the Steed. People genuinely going in on the Steph is washed narrative. It's insane. It was 3 weeks ago. That was a thing 3 weeks ago tonight. Jimmy Butler, it was LA and Jimmy Butler. It was the final game before the Jimmy Butler era started. It was 3 weeks ago tonight in LA. And the 2 to 4 weeks before that was ugly. All of a sudden, Jimmy Butler arrives and Steph Curry looks like a top 5 player of all time once again, and showing everybody that he still got it. So, yeah, it is crazy. And there are a lot of people that are going to have some apologies potentially for some of the stuff they were running at Steph going back to January, because clearly it was not Steph that was the issue. It was the talent surrounding Steph. Go figure. As many times as we've talked about that on this show since its inception back at the end of 2023 in November. Erwin Kwong, this was an important win against a talented team. This game had trap written all over it. I don't know if it was a trap game, but I think the Magic are just a more difficult matchup for the Warriors, I think, than their record. This solidifies hope for the season. It also solidifies hope that you can get now after you get this one, 4-1 is price of admission. Like, you can basically only lose the Knicks game, and 5-0 is on the table, especially given the way the Warriors played. Paul, NBA going to suck when Curry retires? No lies told. I thankfully we're far enough away from that. We're also close enough away to it to mention it, but I think we're far enough away from it where don't worry about it right now if you're a Warrior fan. This team's got some reinvigorated expectations here. Rebel to Sounds, QP was the steal of the draft. Quinton Post, steal of the draft. I might have to dig back into draft pick level impact. Remember the story with Quinton Post? The Warriors traded the pick and then they reacquired the pick that they traded. Like, that's kind of remember they traded the pick for Lindy Waters, and then they ended up getting the pick back because they wanted to draft Quinton Post. So it was kind of an odd deal. Like, we trade the pick and then reacquire the pick that you traded because you want to get this guy. And again, I did not have Quinton Post helping the Warriors win games in February and March and April and maybe May. And who knows about June at this point. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but I didn't have it in February on the bingo card at all. Estimated eyes, I'm just so happy we finally get to see some wins. Yeah, this is as I've often said on nights where the Warriors have had unimpressive wins, and we still don't rate wins on this show, by the way. Like that, not after the way this year was going before the trade, and not after the way last season went for Dubs OT. Like, we don't rate wins on this show. But yeah, everybody, I think after the hot start as well, it's good, I think, for the Warrior fan base to not feel like this season and the 12-3 start, as much as they wasted it to eventually fall under 500, they are now at a point where it doesn't feel like this season is being wasted again, which I think is huge. A couple of more here, Kyle. What we got?
Yeah, we'll do two more from our guy Enrique Rivera, and these two are nothing alike. But the last one is very funny.
All right, Enrique. GP2 clutch block Iguodala-like. Okay, well, that was a big block. And, yeah, he definitely came up big in that moment. All right, and the other one from Enrique.
Yeah, this one gets my Chat of the Night award.
Oh, okay, Chat of the Night. Wow, Kyle's Clicks award of the night. Enrique Rivera, the wife, just got home. Quote, "Are you listening to Warriors postgame again?" Yes, dear. You damn right you are. Damn right, Enrique. You damn right. And a good man you are. And a great wife you have.
He has his priorities straight. And yeah, shout out to the wife.
and shout out to your wife as well. Absolutely. And hey, Saturday, Monday, I'm going to sound like LeBron, not 5, not 6. We got, 23 games to go here. Plus apparently the playoffs. Like it's feeling really good. So, yeah, shout out, Enrique. We appreciate you. Shout out to everybody, Jason Mishler and Enter the Draymond, Andis Brown as well. Jam you, Dubs OT, JD Bray. No, we're not. We're bringing people together. That's what tomorrow's for, Andis. No game tomorrow. No Dubs OT tomorrow. You can get it in tomorrow. It's all good. No, we appreciate it. And we will be back, of course, on Saturday for Just Dubs. Quick edition of that one as we get Giants baseball, so 10 to 11. But then the big show after the game on Saturday, Warriors and the Philadelphia 76ers. All right, let's close it out here as we get to the 9 o'clock hour. Going to go a couple of minutes over on KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM San Francisco as we get to we will eclipse the 2-hour mark officially here as we get to Fun with Numbers.
This is Dubs OT with JD. Time now for fun.
I'm a fun guy.
With numbers.
No, I'm just having fun.
On KNBR 104.5 and 680. Streaming live on KNBR.com and the KNBR app.
All right, the Warriors have won 5 in a row. I think it's the first time we've mentioned that specifically tonight. It matches the longest winning streak of the season, which goes back to the end of October when the Warriors were home at the beginning of the year against the Pelicans. They won a couple of games against the Pelicans and then ended up on that trip where they won in Houston and Washington and Boston. So really the high points of that season during the 12-3 start. Warriors are averaging 122.4 points per game and holding opponents to 103. They've also dished out 162 assists. So do the math on that over the 5-game winning streak. That's 32.4 assists here during the 5-game winning streak. The Warriors have also won 7 of 8 since Jimmy Bleepin Butler entered the equation with that trade that went down 3 weeks ago last night. Warriors are 15-14 on the road. They've won 3 in a row on the road here, 4 more to go on the road for this road trip. They sweep the season series against Orlando, and they've won 3 straight games against the Magic in Orlando. Also 12 of the last 13. And the Warriors sweep the season series for the second straight year against the Magic. Warriors were down by 17, went on to win. 12th double-figure comeback for the Dubs this year to get a win. Warriors also played their 35th clutch game, which trails only Houston and Minnesota for the most in the league. And the Warriors are 18-17 in clutch games. It looked like maybe this one wouldn't wind up being a clutch game, but it did end up being a clutch game. And the Warriors got to the free throw line 34 times tonight. Both games against the Magic, they got to the line 34 plus times, and the Warriors made 30 of 34 tonight. Impressive and key. It was Steph tonight. It was Post, but it was also getting to the line a lot tonight and making free throws. That was one thing Moses Moody did. 7 free throw attempts and 7 free throw makes on a night where he was 1 for 5 in the game overall. And of course, the Warriors will take on the Sixers coming up on Saturday. All right, some individual notes, and this is really where it all gets to Curry. Season high 56. I mean, all of these, Kyle, are just unbelievable when you start. We've reached the Steph Curry is unbelievable portion of fun with numbers here. 14th career 50-point game, which matches, believe it or not, Rick Barry for the second most in Warriors history. Of course, Wilt Chamberlain. How many 50-point games did Wilt Chamberlain have in his career? 105. He had 105 50-plus point games in his career. So think about that. Steph with his 14th, which is as many as Rick Barry had, and Wilt Chamberlain had 105. Holy, almost lost the license with that one. Yeah, a different era to be sure, but 105 50-point games for Wilt Chamberlain. Jesus. And we're coming up also, Warriors playing in Philadelphia. We're also coming up on the anniversary, or early March. I think March the 2nd is the anniversary of Wilt's 100-point game, which is obviously the only player in NBA history to do that. All right, so Curry's 14 50-point games also tie LeBron James, along with Rick Barry, for the 7th most 50-point games in NBA history. The 56 points is the 4th highest scoring game of Curry's career. Curry also has the most 50-point games after the age of 35 in NBA history. He has 3. LeBron James has 2. So Steph moves into that lead for most 50-point games after age 35. He's also got 12 3-pointers, which was his season high. His prior season high was 8. He hit for 8 5 different times. 1 3-pointer short of his career high, which was 13 back in 2016. Curry also has the NBA record for most games with 10 or more 3-pointers. He has 26. Here's another one of these that's just astounding, Kyle. So Curry has the most 10-plus 3-point make games in his career with 26. Number 2 is Klay Thompson. Klay has 9. So Klay has 9. Steph has 26. And Steph has the most games with 11 or more. He's got 14 games with 11 or more 3-pointers. Klay Thompson and Damian Lillard are tied for second. Again, Steph's got 14 of 11 or more. Klay Thompson and Dame Lillard second on that list with 4. So Steph just lapping the field. He also moved into 26th place on the all-time NBA scoring list. He passed Patrick Ewing on the all-time NBA scoring list tonight, as he ends up with Patrick Ewing had 24,815, season high 12 free throws for Steph in this one, eclipsing the game back on December the 8th against Minnesota. That is our ode to Steph Curry in our fun with numbers. And then the other one that we had here earlier, 31 points per game for Steph in the 8 games since the acquisition of Jimmy Butler, and the true shooting percentage of 70. He's got a 70% true shooting in the last 3 weeks. So all Steph needed was a little bit of help, and Vucevic at home, apparently, at least tonight, in Quinton Post to get the win and to start playing like an all-time great. Kyle, some final thoughts to you here as we wrap things up, and what a wonderful night. Big thanks to you, big thanks to Raph, big thanks to Casey Copeland, and anybody else that I may be forgetting, but I'm going to give you a chance to just share some final thoughts here before we head into the Friday and the weekend.
I think my one final thought is I can't wait until February 27th of next year.
Good call. That's right. February 27th of next year, it'll be a Friday. Who knows if the Warriors will have a game on February the 27th. But yeah, Steph with 3 all-time career games on February 27th. You're gonna send me down the rabbit hole tonight to figure out if that's got to be the greatest date of his career.
Oh, easily. Well, now I kind of want to go into the rabbit hole of like other athletes
dates.
Like other athletes who have done great performances on a specific date.
Yeah, no, that's 100%. And so, yeah, I think we've pinpointed whether it's the game at MSG in 2013 or the game 9 years ago in OKC. What do those all have in common, Kyle? All on the road. So, yeah, Steph does tend to feed off of a great road crowd. Big thanks to everybody in the chat. Big thanks to the callers. Big thanks to the texters on the Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line. Really appreciate everyone. 928 down in Arizona with a shout out to the Magic announcers. They were watching the game. Their announcers were pretty cool, balanced dudes. And then I guess he was watching this person was watching the in arena feed during the timeouts. You can get that on the stream, and was enjoying some of the in-game entertainment. Now, they have a great PA announcer in Orlando too. Same PA announcer for the entire franchise history of the Orlando Magic. Same guy as the Shaq. And if you listen to a game tonight and you hear him in the background, it's the same guy as if you go back and watch the 95 NBA Finals with Shaq and Penny Hardaway going up against Houston. So I think that's kind of cool. And there's only a handful of places that still have the same PA announcers. The Knicks, Madison Square Garden is one. Boston's had the same guy for a long time. Portland has had the same PA announcer for a long time. And Utah actually has had the same. The PA announcer in Salt Lake City is great. He is retiring actually at the end of this year. He's been there since 1979. Every Jazz game in Utah have been the same PA announcer. I think the guy's in his 70s now, and hanging him up. So yeah, good stuff there in Orlando. All right, for Kyle and Casey Copeland and Raf Corral, we'll talk to you Saturday. Everybody in the chat, thank you. Warriors win it 121-115. This truly is the best Dubs coverage in the Bay, and it's right here on KNBR, and we've got you covered every single night. Keep it locked here tomorrow, all throughout the day. Everybody, Murph and Marcus, Papa and Silver, Copes and Derek Papa, everybody's going to be talking about Steph tomorrow all day long, so make sure you're locked right here on the Sports Leader. We'll talk to you Saturday. Dubs get the win. KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
Curry again. Buddy Hield back to Steph. Another three. Got it! This has got that record-setting feel. Magic has scored the last two times. Curry for three. Yes, sir! Curry's got 46. Another clutch game for the Dubs. Curry three. Good! 11 threes. 49 for the game. Curry to beat the buzzer for three. Good! Steph's got 12 threes. He's got 52.
Emirates Cup or bust.
Oh, hell yeah.
First of all, you got to start off liking each other.
I'm super cereal.
Big fat dub.
Ain't nobody going to stop me.
I just wake up and I can shoot it no matter if I'm playing or not. But great win.
Who are these guys?
I love you, JD. Bye, sugar.
I can see the headline now. Kerr says Warriors better without Curry.
Jimmy freaking Butler puts it in.
Everything's going to be all right.